tonight. We're going to get to the Browns and the Saints in just a second, but I do think that we have to spend just a second to talk about the late now great Franco Harris. There's so much irony in this, I can't even believe it, but his family now has confirmed that the great Hall of Fame running back for the Steelers has died at 72. It's so sad because Saturday was the Steelers and Raiders are celebrating the 50th anniversary of one of the most unlikely plays, even though I still think it was a bad call, and replay may have overturned it, but the Immaculate Reception 50 years ago Saturday, and they're going to retire his number.
I don't think the Raiders are celebrating it. I think
no, they're not. But for their part in that game, they're part of that history.
By the way,
those
in
teams
those
are playing
days,
again.
In reading about the Immaculate Reception today, I was reading an article about it, and I didn't realize that in those days, first of all, did the ball hit the ground before he caught it?
That was the big question.
But there's another thing that could have made that play illegal too. When it goes off, who did it go off from the Raiders? I can't remember. It bounces off his helmet.
I'm not sure.
Whoever it was. But the wide receiver for the Steelers, who was the intended target on that play, if it hits him first,
it's incomplete.
It's a dead ball.
Yes, it is.
That's obviously not the rule now.
You can't go offense to offense.
Yes.
You couldn't back then.
Now you can. So you couldn't even tell for sure who it hit because in those days they didn't have a ton of cameras.
Right.
It wasn't the same.
We did a piece on it a number of years ago. It may have been for the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Where replay officials today looked at the play.
Right.
And there was a little bit of the ultimate judgment was they would not have overturned it because there wasn't enough evidence.
Right.
But, even Franco Harris, when asked about this play in the many, many years and the many times he'd been asked about it afterwards, never really gives the definitive it was clean. So you just don't know. He's probably the one that knows more than anybody.
It's good marketing.
And he takes it to the grave with him. So the late, great Franco Harris, and I know he's our biggest he was one of the best players on our biggest rivalry, but just in the interest of good sportsmanship, I'd met him a number of times. He was an absolute 100% complete great guy and gentleman. So we pay our respect and our homage to the late, great Franco Harris, and it'll put a different spin on this Saturday's game between the Raiders and the Steelers.
I will say anybody that, I think football is a fraternity. I never played at the highest level, but, I respect anybody that played the game. Like, especially if you're great, you can't not help but to respect the dudes that got gold jackets. That's the highest level it comes with, you know what I'm saying? So, and I always say this, you just a guest. A lot of people is just a guest in this pantheon in order to make a living. Like, I get to talk about these dudes and talk about sports and make an earning and make a good living doing it. So, you know what I'm saying? I always say that, we are guests. And so, you have no choice but to pay respect to the people that did it at the highest level. Salute. You know what I'm saying? Because he's half the reason that a lot of us played football. A lot of us is doing this job, and so you got to salute and respect him, even though he on the opposite side of the enemy line, so to speak.
In his era, it was not the quarterback that drove the bus. It was the running back.
Well, even Bradshaw admitted that. I mean,
Bradshaw was not great. If you look at Bradshaw's numbers, you would laugh.
Well, now, in fairness to Bradshaw, a lot of the great quarterbacks of that era had bad numbers.
And that's what I'm pointing out.
I think he had more picks than touchdowns, maybe.
Or right around that number. He had all-time great Hall of Fame caliber receivers, but back then, and this was really an extension from Jim Brown and his dominance in the 60s, but into the 70s, this wasn't a quarterback league at all. It was a running back league. It was O.J. Simpson. It was Franco Harris. Before them, it was Jim Brown. Today, we tend to marginalize that position because it's a passing league. But Franco Harris, if you're looking for the straw that stirred that drink, in my view anyhow, because of the way the game was played that time, it was him. They were all about running the ball and defense.
He was a fullback, technically.
He was.
Jim Brown, Larry Zonka,
that
Franco
goes to show you
Harris.
how much the game has changed.
Fullback.
He had
Fullbacks are still used. Kyle Juszczyk is the guy.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Juice.
And by the way, that
Ohio guy.
that offense and that system right now, even though there's not a lot of teams running it,
It is looking really good.
Well, now
without a great quarterback.
Those 70 teams for the Steelers obviously had Hall of Famers all over the place.
Receivers and the
Receivers,
defense. It was all
offensive
about defense
line, defense. They were just loaded.
They were.
With talent, but he was the best player on that offense.
I feel he was.
And he had 8 1,000-yard seasons. He had 5 double-digit touchdown seasons.
And if I'm not mistaken, some of his career was 14 games. In fact, maybe the majority of his career.
Yes.
There were 14-game seasons. So it really puts into perspective, like when Jim Brown was rushing for 1,000 yards, that used to be the number. And now when we say 1,000 yards, we're like, hey, 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards today means you're averaging about 65 yards a game.
To me, the number now is 1,200.
Yeah, I think so, too.
That's the old 1,000.
Yeah, but you still hear the number 1,000-yard seasons thrown around like that's the new benchmark, and it's really not.
By the way, I didn't know this. Franco Harris played for another team in the final year of his career.
Was it Sam? No. A lot of guys finished at San Francisco.
You're not far off geographically.
Is it Oakland?
McNuggets.
Nope.
We got to get to
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yes,
I remember seeing him in a Seattle Seahawks
He
uniform.
just spawned a new game. Legends that played on other teams.
Joe Montana, the Chiefs.
Or like
Brett Favre, Jets and Vikings.
Basketball.
Joe Namath.
Now basketball is the best.
Football.
Basketball is because I don't think it was as well documented like in the 70s and 80s.
You want to play one right now? Patrick Ewing.
The Magic.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
I think Olajuwon played for the Raptors.
He did.
Wow,
Yeah, that's right.
Now that is bizarre. Shaq.
No idea.
Well, Shaq.
Shaq was
What
like
he finished with the Celtics?
he played everywhere. He
Shaq
played
played
here.
Cavs,
No, I
the
know, but I'm
Suns,
saying,
the
who did he
Heat,
finish
the
with?
Well, but of course Jordan is the biggest one.
Yeah, the Wizards.